Most cities around the world have some form of public transportation. What you see here on the left is a CAT bus, and on the right we have a train in Atlanta, the MARTA Rail. How many people have ridden on the bus or the train in Atlanta or here? Okay, great. Transit riders in the audience. Awesome. Why do we have these? Key benefit of public transit systems is space. In dense urban areas, we need to move people efficiently. Summed up by this picture. On the left-hand side, we have a bus with the 40 people inside the bus next to it. In the center, if they were all riding bikes. On the right, if they were in their own cars. Look at that traffic. I know I sat in traffic trying to get here today. A lot of, in addition to that, other key benefits of public transit systems. The National Academies recently published a report arguing that it is a key part of the climate solution, fewer greenhouse gas emissions as compared to people driving their own cars. And yet another benefit of having transit in our urban areas is it's a really safe mode to get around. So we can compare, like you see here on these statistics, different modes of travel. And actually, if you look at nationwide fatality statistics, you are 32 times more likely to be killed in a car crash than on the bus. But we have new cars that are coming. We have electric cars that are going to be very environmentally friendly. We have autonomous cars that are going to be really safe. But I argue they are not going to solve the congestion problem. What you see here on the left-hand side, regular cars. In the middle, electric cars. The right-hand side, autonomous cars, and they're still stuck in traffic. So we need public transit in this country. But I must be realistic, as we already heard one of our speakers discuss. In this country, relatively small numbers of people use transit on a day-to-day basis. This is data from the US Census Bureau, 2019, pre-pandemic. Only 5% of Americans commute to work on transit on a day-to-day basis. With that said, there's a lot of regional variation. So this is also from the US Census Bureau. Very small numbers of people in the South, in this region, use transit in general, but a lot more in the Northeast, as you can see on the top. In the bottom, key cities across the country, particularly New York, have a ton of transit ridership. So there's a lot of regional variation. I'm sorry to report, though, that nationwide transit ridership has been on a decline. And so what you're looking at here is nationwide statistics from 1920 to 2020. And starting in the mid-2010s, we see ridership start to go down. And then a big decline during the pandemic. And so what happened? And that's what a lot of my research focuses on. My recent research with Georgia Tech and University of Kentucky found 4 key drivers of pre-pandemic declines. Number 1, new modes like taking Uber and Lyft. 2, cheaper gas. 3, some cities increased their transit fares. And 4, changes in household and income characteristics. And then the pandemic came and people stopped riding the bus. They stopped riding the train, like you see here, empty trains, masked riders, only essential workers on the bus and the train. So why? Well, crowding people into a train goes against that space argument that putting a lot of people in there is really hard to social distance, which we needed during the pandemic. And it wasn't just those direct impacts of the pandemic. So more recent research that we've done looked at indirect impacts of 2020 and 2021 and found that it's also due to things like changes in unemployment levels, rise of telework, and 3, people relocating out of dense urban areas. But with that said, transit ridership is starting to come back. So again, nationwide statistics, just comparing to 2019, we're at about 70 to 80% bus and rail ridership in most cities. So I think this is a positive time. We're getting to have more people on the train, more people coming back to riding the bus. Like you see here, this happy little girl who is my 2-year-old daughter who got to ride the train for the very first time just recently. Oh, and my husband who's in the back, hello. So what I wanna do is I wanna get more people on the train, more happy people on the train. How can we get more people on the train? And when I say how can we get more people on the train, I do not mean like this. So what you are looking at here is a picture from Japan where they have very crowded rail systems in many cities. So they actually employ staff to physically push people onto the crowded trains. So we want people to ride the train, perhaps not this many. So how do we do that? 5 strategies I'm going to give you to improve our public transit systems. Number 1, invest in transit. This usually needs to happen at the local or the state level. So what you see on the left-hand side, recent headlines from Seattle, where over the past 3 decades, they've had multiple successful ballot measures to fund major transit expansions. Could that happen here? We'll see soon in Nashville. Number 2, rethink roadway space. Why do cars get to rule the road? Can we not have, like what we have on the left-hand side, some space for pedestrians, some space for bikes, some space for buses? Give them a lane. And perhaps retime the signals to give them a little bit extra time. Strategy number 3, increase the frequency so the buses come more often. That will be much more useful. If I know a bus is coming perhaps every 10 minutes, I don't have to plan my life around it. I can just show up and go. Strategy number 4, which is coming in just a second, is to provide good information, like you see in this smartphone app. So these apps provide real-time vehicle location information just into the hands of the passengers. That's using the GPS installed on almost every bus. I actually wrote my entire PhD dissertation on how people use these apps, and they really like them. And last but not least, strategy number 5 is to make it a little easier to pay. Every time you get into your car, you don't have to pay $2 in exact change and put it into a little fare box machine, clink with all these people around you. How about we use mobile apps that are a lot easier, streamlined, help people pay their fares and get on the vehicle? So with that, those were 5 strategies we can use to improve our public transit systems and hopefully get more people to take the bus and the train. Thank you very much.